Okay. Just setting my audio here because I have a bunch of stuff here going on. Okay, let's move to the camp. Hello! Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is having a spooky Halloween. Here it's been kind of calm. Not gonna lie. I was expecting, like, trick-or-treaters at some point today, but I guess on this side of the apartment buildings, nobody really cares about kids and shit. Oh my god. So far, I spent most of the day writing and getting some energy on me because I got up at 4 in the morning. So, I'm glad to be here and such. Just waiting a bit to see who's gonna be around here tonight. I hope everyone is doing okay. Yeah, right? It's scarier at 3, believe me. Like, I don't know how I do it. Like, I don't know how I wake up and eat cereal and drink coffee. Much like right now. I'm not eating coffee. I mean, wait, I'm not even cereal. Oh my god. Sorry, my cables got mixed up there. Oh my god. So anyway, this is a different vibe for me. Usually I'm like either doodling or whatever. In a couple of minutes my new episode from my Substack story is gonna be live at 8:30. So kind of excited for that. I forgot that was gonna be out. I was doing so many things at the same time that it's not even fucking funny. So laloy. Which it's ridiculous how things are going. But anyway, y'all are here for the spooky stories. I am here to provide. So anyway, today, funny enough, I was talking with one of my coworkers because he was asking me if I was gonna celebrate the 2 nights holiday, as he's called it, because if y'all don't know, I live in fucking Texas, and everyone here is so goddamn Christian, so some of them, I guess, tiptoe over the fact that Halloween exists, and it's the Devil's Night or something like that. I don't know, bro. So, I said, like, yeah, I think I'm gonna watch. I actually watched The Bride of Frankenstein before finishing dinner and such. And he's like, you know what I like? I like hearing stories about people that have weird paranormal experiences. And I'm like, okay, cool. I was thinking about doing that tonight on Twitch. So, lo and behold, it's funny because I said this like a month ago or when it started, October, and I, like a good Mexican, forgot to do it, so I'm gonna do it at the last fucking minute. It's like making the homework at the last possible minute, but lo and behold, turns out that I have a Tumblr and I have all my stories there written. And I'm like, great, that helped me out. So it actually gave me a little perspective of where it all started. And like a friend of mine told me earlier today, he says, like, I kind of, if I'm going to tell that kind of stories, I'm going to start it from the start. So let's start from the start. Oh boy, Nanny. This is going to be a long one. So I think if we need to start with anything, I need to start from the beginning, like I was saying. And the beginning can be anywhere in my life. I always thought that my experiences with ghosts, weird events, or apparitions started when I was around my teens, or a bit under that age. I want to say so. But no, there were some weird ones when I was just a little kid, like a toddler even. And those stuck with me. More because my family kept repeating them to me, and I said, like, yeah, that sounds about right. When I was a wee kid, I talk when I was very little, like, I want to say it was like 3, because my brother wasn't around just yet. My mom really had a hard time with me because I started talking before I started walking, so she had to practice a lot of patience with me. So that's where my grandmother, my dad's mother, came into the picture, and she pretty much raised me when I was a little baby kid. She took care of me when I was little because my parents were working and such, so I was most times, or I had a lot of times and memories down in her home, in her old house, with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. Their home wasn't old, but it wasn't. It always felt welcoming. It didn't feel spooky at all. Well, sometimes. But before continuing the nostalgia, I'll have to say this. That house had a set of events that I never knew how to explain. Some of the first things I heard from that house was that when I was like 2 or 3 years old, like I was saying, I talked to someone a lot. My granny used to say that I talk with some imaginary friend, because of course, but she started noticing a lot of weird details about it, right? One of them was while playing cards, because in my grandmother's house, they love playing cards. You name it. The simple card games, not no poker or that kind of stuff. It was more go fish, pairs, whatever. And my grandmother used to throw them while we started. Like she was the one that cut the cards, like we used to say it. But she used to do it often. She was like the matriarch, so she had to do it. And my grandma used to throw them while we started, but according to everyone, I one day started throwing them in a weird, very specific way. And for what they said, I was very proud of it, and I don't doubt it because I've always been like that. My granny actually asked, like, where did I learn that way? Like, I just said that the old white angel taught me, or sometimes I only pointed to the corner and said, that old lady said that you would like it. Turns out it was my grandmother's grandmother, my great grandmother, and she was the one that actually taught my grandmother how to like do cards and that. I never did talk with her according to them again. After the card incident, I haven't really played cards, to be perfectly honest. Like, I played Magic. But that was a recurrent thing when I was a little girl. Apparently, before the card incident, I used to talk a lot, like in corners, and I used to like just talk by myself. But like I said, I was like a little kid that didn't shut up. So they were like, "Well, whatever, she's crazy, so that's part of the family. Who cares?" That was one of the events when I was a little kid. But that wasn't the only one. A lot of things happened in that house. And there was indeed one event that actually kind of spooked me, and I still like remember to this day. So let's get into it. Like I said, I spent a lot of time on that home, and they always threw big parties in that place. Me being Mexican, if you didn't notice, it's all about big ass parties. And my grandparents weren't shy about that as well. Someone had a big birthday party, and my parents were also there. My brother was little, like a little toddler baby. And not that he remembers this. He probably slept over the event, to be perfectly honest. When it was later in the party, we used to sleep in my grandmother's bedroom. It was a big room with a couple of big windows and one little side window that was long and tall but slim. You could barely see anything through there, but the light from the lights on the street came in just shining enough. So it was like a little beam of light that just illuminated some part of the room. Across from the bed, there was like this old crucifix. My grandmother cherished it. My God, she loved that thing. She always told me that I shouldn't be afraid of it because he was taking care of us while we slept. Not gonna lie, that thing was just scary looking. I think the thing was that it was very detailed, and that did not help matters in the scary department. So, like I said, the light just shined from that little stupid window and made the crucifix like light up from the side. So, I woke up for some reason, as I usually do. I have no idea. I just woke up. In the middle of the night, I do remember the party still going because the windows on the other side were directly to the patio. So in the patio, you can like see all the people chit chatting, drinking, whatever. But when I turned to the front where the crucifix was, that damn thing was looking directly at me. Usually the head was looking down to the side, but this time I was looking front and to me, like directly looking at me. I think I spent the entire night covered my head under the covers, even when it was like a warm night, because I really don't remember if it was like summer or autumn or whatever. But I was covering my head with that blanket for the life of me. The next day, I told my granny actually what happened, and she said that I was crazy. That God wouldn't do that to scare me. That it was protecting me. Hell nah. Hell the hell no, super nope. That thing was kept in that house for years to come, even when they moved, because they moved from that house to another one in a kind of shaky neighborhood. But they took the damn thing, and sometimes I kind of noticed that it was following me with its eyes. I really don't know where that thing ended up. It's just like it's so weird because it kind of reminds me if anyone saw the Carrie movie, like how the thing looked like suffering. I never got into that kind of stuff, like the crucifix and that kind of things, because it was just spooky. In that house, a lot of things happened, but for most part, what I can remember, it was little things, and it was more because afterwards, and I'm gonna get to that later. But it followed a lot my grandfather, and my grandfather had a really weird, dark history that I don't even want to know what happened. There was a lot of like uh, strange recurrences and strange events that my dad even said like your grandfather is just into weird things, and I believed it. But he still loved us, so I didn't doubt that. But well, anyway, enough from the old house from my grandmother. Even though that is kind of nice to remember some things, but it doesn't mean that it all happened there. Not everything happened there, like I said. I think the most intense events happened to me when I was a lot more older. One in particular happened to me at a friend's home. By this time, I was around 14 years old, maybe 15, when I was in middle school. I used to hang out with a girl that lived very close to my home and close to my school. So it was like right in the middle of everything. So when we had homework, we used to pair up, and after school, we go have lunch and work in our projects. So I spent a couple of times in her home, and we just had a blast. She had a little brother also that we used to babysit while her family was away. One day, oh my god, And it was a shitty, rainy, cold day in November. We had an art project. And me, if y'all don't know me, I love doing art. She wanted me to help her out because she didn't have the quality, I get the qualifications, I guess. She always liked the way that I drew, so I helped her out with that. We were drawing and talking and just having a fun time when she said she needed some more markers for her drawing. So I stayed downstairs while I checked on her little brother. We kind of tried to not keep him by himself when he was around. I do remember she took a while for her to come downstairs. But when she did, boy, she came down scared out of her mind. Oh, that owl actually worked out. She told me, "You have to see this." And I was like, okay. Oh, yes. I actually forgot to mention that her sister, she had a sister, an older sister. And she had a huge fucking collection of vintage dolls in her room. Her bed had like this shelving on the header that she had ornamented with a lot of dolls. Oh my god, were there a lot of dolls. All types of dolls, to be exact. Older, new ones, the ones that you could draw on them, they looked like crap. Some were very well kept, but most of them were those that you could sit up and open their eyes and close them. Not the ones that made sound. If that happened, I would have like died there. When we went in there, she turned the light on. You know that feeling that something ain't right? And in the movies you say, "Oh, let's investigate this." Now in reality it's very different. Let me tell you that. You act very different to more real events. The dolls were all moving. Some slightly. You can notice it. Some blinking. Some turning their heads or waving their arms. My true and honest reaction was literally nope. I did not say anything. I turned, walked down the stairs, picked up my stuff, and I remember for a fact I even forgot to grab my drawing. I grabbed my shit, said bye. I walked towards my grandmother's house that was close, did not say a word about it. I just said I needed to leave earlier from her home and wait on my parents to show up because they were working. To be honest, I hated always dolls. I always hated it since a kid. I always received the doll and I hated it. There was something about the uncanny valley for me. But when that happened to me, I just thought in my mind, I knew it. That they do that kind of creepy shit. I fucking hate dolls for the life of me. But that one gave me reasons to not really own one. I don't know what happened there. Her house was old, I guess, but it just was such an isolated event that I really don't know why it happened. I am still to this day like wondering why. Why me? Oh god. But it happened. And afterwards I was like, I didn't tell my parents that ever. And what would have been like a change? Like what would have changed if I told them that? So I kept it to me, like most of the stuff that happens, and I moved on with my life. Let's change the subject. I'm talking about other places, but I never talk about my home. I try not to overthink things like, hey, did I just saw that? Hey, what was that? Well, that was weird. Most of my experience, I try not to fester too much on the moment because if I do, I wouldn't be able to sleep ever. But I remember the first time I started to be truly scared of something. And that was the closet in my old room. My house wasn't at all an old house. It wasn't previously owned. It was a new built home in a new development, in a new neighborhood. We used to live in a smaller, more cozy house, but my father decided we needed to upgrade, so he found a bigger place, and me and my brother could have our own rooms and our own privacy. Although at the start we kind of slept in the same room because we're like kids and we didn't have like AC, so we kind of had to share it. Back then, though, my closet was wide. It had like some of those two set see-through doors that had like shades in it uh, that you could close it with a click, and I could even put like my drawing stuff in one side, and the other I could put like my clothes, and it was big. It was a nice closet though. The first years was okay, nothing of note, till one day my brother told me one night he was sleeping in the room and he heard voices. He thought it was me that I talked while I slept. FYI, I did have a very severe sleeping disorder when I was a kid, and I used to sleepwalk a lot and talk and a lot of stuff. But he said that after a few times he heard the voices coming from the closet. He slept in the bed near the closet, so he kind of had the idea that, you know what, this is happening here. After that, he started asking for his own room, and they provided. So I'm like, I was happy because, oh, I have my own room. I don't care. I was in high school when I started having the worst times, so it has passed like a bunch of time. One night I was dreaming that something called me in the closet. A voice wanted me to get in because it felt alone, and it was dark. For days I had that dream in a recurring state. Sometimes I would sleep and wake up in another room. We had a TV room that had a really big sofa. I would wake up in the room daily. Like every morning I woke up there for some reason. Without me noticing it. I just like woke up and was like, okay. But it was the nights that I heard the voices in the closet. The worst was one night. In a very late hours at night, I heard laughs very clear coming from it. I was like laying on my bed, like just sleeping, and I just heard like if they laughed right next to my ear. I even got up. Like I was scared. I could still hear the echo of it ringing in my room even. I forced myself to sleep. And in that night I dreamt I felt a hand holding me tight from my arms and suddenly pulling me into the open closet. The open closet was dark and I could hear screams and voices from it, while several long arms and hands held me and pulled me in. I was screaming in terror while I held from the doors, trying not to fall into the pit of the void. When I finally got to wake up, and I remember this like it was yesterday, I could see for a glimpse a hand over my blanket and sliding slowly down my bed. After that, every night I tied the doors shut with a ribbon that I had, or a cord, or whatever the hell I had in hand. There was mornings that I woke up from restless nights, and in the morning I could find my doors untied and semi-open. After that, it was hard because I couldn't bitch about it. So I incidentally broke the door, so I had an excuse for them to change it. My parents thought they didn't work. Like, okay, they don't work. Let's clean that closet off. After the cleanup, because there wasn't really anything bad in it. Like, I took out some stuff, maybe old things and such. But after that, the thing stopped. The only thing that stuck around was a weird spot on the ceiling of my closet that I never noticed. It was like a black spot that it looked like maybe humidity or whatever. They actually checked upstairs if there was like a hole because my house was a cement house. Like it's not like it's wood or whatever. It doesn't have like filtrations and shit. So that spot stayed there and it never really went away. That's kind of weird to remember that though, because I do remember those kind of things, and it was not good times. And still, I didn't care, and I still watch horror movies in that room. But it wasn't a fun ride. It was not. I even had a crucifix. I even tried to like be into religion for 5 minutes, but it didn't work. So I tried to live with it. So another thing happened in that room, but for that I need to come back to my great, awesome grandfather. Rest his soul. I knew my grandfather had a weird familiarity with paranormal things. Holy shit. Holy shit, you scared me, Brandon. My husband just scared me. Jesus Christ. Um, wow, I lost concentration completely. You're fine. Woo! Okay. Where was I? Okay. My grandfather, yeah. Had a weird familiarity with paranormal things. I got a bunch of great stories from him, but to be perfectly honest, we don't have the time and I don't have the energy to talk about all of them. So I'm still gonna give this one because this one is just resonates. I am still of the opinion that most of our experiences were dragged by his recklessness on dealing with things that he shouldn't. But this is just my opinion. But I am certain that he did some things we will never really know. That my grandfather was a special kind of grandfather. So, I say this because one of the most shocking experiences I ever had was with death. Not like near death, but yes, but more for the entity, I guess, death. But let me talk about this. First things first, back in 2006, I changed to another college. We had some money problems, and I needed to go to a cheaper option to finish my studies. I wasn't in a community college because in Mexico, that's the top tier ones. But anyway, I remember a time I had a recurring dream. I have a younger brother, like I mentioned. He's 3 years old. He's 3 years younger than me. So we're not really that far apart, but he is younger than me. He is not a little boy at all. But in my dream, he is just a little boy. And I am as old as maybe 16. Most of the dream is at night, and we're like walking in a dark, abandoned town at night. Like, just a weird, lonely town that looked like one of those Western ones. He kept wanting candy all this time as he held my hand. And I can recall he said like there's an older woman that sells candies and sweets on the streets and I am looking for this woman all over the place. As we walk along in the streets, the ambient felt heavier and more dense. But this dream always ended up with my brother crying because he saw something, and by the time he said anything, I just woke up from my alarm clock in the morning. So one night, I started that dream when my brother was starting to cry. But his cries were so desperate. I felt like so much desperation in me. I was trying to calm him that I was gonna give him the candy because, to be perfectly honest, my brother's a brat. But that's when he said, "She wants to take us," and I'm like who? And I thought the older lady, maybe. The lady in white wants to take you. That's what he said. And then he turned, saw something, and screamed and cried, pointing that she was coming for us, and we needed to run away from it. I could vaguely see something. I could see a faint white image of her. I just ran behind him because it was like, what the hell? What's going on? I was more worried in protecting him than in anything else. Like, because he's my baby brother, what the hell would I be doing? So I was starting to feel desperate. My throat hurt from trying to scream at him. Also felt like I was choking as I run fast. You know that feeling that you feel like you can't get air? You're like desperate. He got at last to a house, and as I followed him in, I noticed that it was my room. I see him hiding behind the bed, and he starts screaming and pointing behind me, like she's in the window. She is in the window. She's there in the window. And when I turned towards the window, there was a white lady with a skull face that glowed so intensely, and I could see her looking right at me. I suddenly woke up. I was like drenched in sweat, and my hair was like about to pop. I remember even clenching to the sheets. Like I was like I was scared, man. Like I never felt that scared in my life. And I remember looking to my window, and I had a big window in my room. Besides the creepy fucking closet on the other side of that room, I had a big window, and I have some like purple, uh, I guess it was like purple curtains or something like that. And I could see beyond them, and I could see the white light coming from it as it slowly faded away. And I said, like, she was actually there. It took me a while to recuperate. I didn't tell anyone. So I went back to bed. And I remember the next day feeling so weak, so drained, as if I went, like, as if I ran a marathon. I was like fucking dying. And I still went to school. I was in college, like I said. My mom did notice that I was kind of not in a good state. And that was when I was actually diagnosed with cancer in my thyroids. And it was actually messing up my heart rate, and the doctor said it almost gave me a heart attack with the arrhythmia that was going up and down with all the stress that it was giving my body. I actually, after that, did tell that to my parents, and my father wasn't even surprised. Like, he was not surprised. Like, but that was my first encounter, and that's another encounter. The second encounter that I had, I actually had it with my father, not because he had a close experience, but like I mentioned, we go back to my grandfather that had a weird dark history. So when I was little, I would find strange books in his workshop. He had like a little tech workshop, I guess. And he gathered a bunch of weird books about history, politics. And I know it's gonna sound cheesy as fuck, but he had witchcraft books. For me, it was normal. He never really did hide it from me, but he did say that I was way too young to know about this thing. So he always prevented me from reading or taking note of it. He did eventually give me some, but I didn't really fret on it. I was just, okay, this is a good thing to read. He was very mystical, and he kept it to himself a lot. I always wanted to know things, but after all that I felt like he was dragging something with it. And I was enough respectful to not do or know what was going on in the background. But, so one summer he was working far away from the state on an oil plant, if I recall, down in another place. Not really that far from where we live, but at least a good 3-hour drive. He lived alone in a house that they built very basic and makeshift, if I recall. But for some reason, he got moved to a trailer near the machinery he kept at night. He was like a, yes, I don't know, he took care of the shit at night. He loved that job though. Because he was alone, he was always a hermit in a way. My dad hated that because why is the old man like living by himself, doing whatever he wanted? But that was his business, not ours. And one thing we ever agreed, my father and me, is that he needed to get back home because of his age, and it wasn't safe, to be perfectly honest. So one night, we got a strange call. Again, back into my dear old room was spooky as hell. I was sleeping in my room, and I woke up randomly. Nothing really scared me. Like, nothing shocked me. I just woke up. One of those nights that you say, like, you know what? Boom. Turn on the lights, like I say. I turned towards the other side of my room, towards my door. I slept with my door closed. Yeah, even there and then, I didn't care. I still slept with my door closed. Brave? Maybe. Dumb? Probably. So, there was something standing in the middle of my room. By this time, I had a smaller bed, and I had a lot more space. So a lot of the flooring or the area in my room had a lot of dead space. Like I had my desk and whatever, but right in the middle of it there was this black figure. But it looked like it was dressed in a black silk dress. I could see her face though. And it was a skull. But this time I wasn't scared or anything. Gotta say that a thing that I remember very vividly is that I felt very calm, like very like at peace. Something that I didn't think I was gonna feel when I saw that kind of stuff. That compared to the last time I thought that I was gonna fucking die, but at that moment, now that I go back to it, I was very calm and very curious even. So I got up slowly from my bed and I walked towards her. Almost in a soft movement she walked and disappear into my door, like if she just passed through my door. It was so bizarre. I stood there for a minute and opened my door and looked out, and at the same exact time, my father was doing the same thing. We both stood there in silence till he said, "You saw her, didn't you?" And I was like, "What did you see?" And my dad said, "I saw death. Like right there. I went to touch her for some reason." And I said, "I felt exactly the same." We went to take a drink of water downstairs in the kitchen, and he said that he heard whispers, that he was in shock how physical there this thing was standing in the door. But like me, he just stood up, walked towards it, and did the same thing as me. Like we just wanted to touch her, like wanted to be there. Like what's going on? My mom was in shock the next morning because we didn't wake her up. And we were all confused. My dad was like, "What did it mean, bro?" Almost instantly, we had a call, like the next morning, like right there, right there. And turns out that my grandfather needed to go desperately to the hospital. He was in great pain. Turns out he had a tumor in one of his. If I recall, it wasn't his liver. He lived for more. He lived a lot more years. I got married still, and I moved up here. Well, I moved into Ohio first, and he passed away in 2020. But I saw her that night. Like it was just bizarre. I I kind of want to say I like to think she was taking care of him, because if it was the other way, I wouldn't feel like so at ease to see her. Hey Paco, welcome to the stream. No llegaste a barrer. Okay, so enough with death. I dance with death a lot. We shouldn't be afraid of death. She's a nice lady that's gonna take us somewhere nice to rest and sleep. If she's there for a reason, she's there for a reason. I really don't know what happened with both the of my experience, but it's just that it is what as of lately I've been trying to like learn a bit about it because I hear a lot of podcasts also as well, and they talk about weird shit. And it is funny that they say that she kind of walks like she's dancing, like not dancing, like 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 slowly movements. It's just weird. Remember the girl from Mars Attacks that she like moved and swayed? That's the way she moved. Like so weird. Like such a weird thing. So yeah, I hope you have nightmares from this. So, speaking of death, I'm gonna tell one of my favorite fucking experience of all times. Because goddamn, that was in the times of YouTube already existed, I guess. So, I'm not saying that it was great because it wasn't, but it was the most memorable one because it lasted a whole goddamn season back in 2007. And this one, and this sound like Goosebumps or fucking Are You Afraid of the Dark, but I called it the Ghost Dog. So, back when I was in art school, right before college, we had a midterm project around autumn or maybe winter. I'm not sure. It's kind of foggy on the exact time because the weather is pretty much the same as the season. Cold, rainy, wet, and disgusting. But I used to enjoy, like, back then, there. We had, like, cinema class, which was for the most of the semester, because my teacher was a lazy sod. We watched old movies in weird languages that most of us didn't, like, stood away for them. Like, I didn't understand, I didn't know what was going on, so we ended up sleeping. Because it was like, I was taking, I want to say it was like the later shift, because there was like the morning, the afternoon, and the evening, so I had to take the evening classes at that time, because I don't remember why. I guess it was the time that I had to do it. But one of the big things from that semester was that we had to do like a mid project, a silent horror movie. So we're very excited because for most of us, we love horror. And the fact that we can make our own story and then film it, it was something very fun to develop. Or so we thought. So we tried to come for a good idea for the story, like come up something good, but nothing really clicked it. Like nothing. So one of our guys from the group came with a short and sweet story. I say short and sweet because it was short and sweet, and that was it. The main premise of the story was young man being tormented by shadows, and at the end they take him. The shadows win. Like nobody really, the good guy dies. In other words, the way it was set, it was rather spooky, and this guy just made the script with like scenes and some text, and that was that. Like he presented the idea, and we're like, you know what, this sounds good. But we did ask him, like, where do you get it? Because, like, you're not smart, bro. So, like I said, it was around 2005, 2007. I'm roughing it. So the creepypastas were already out there. They were just being created. It was just a concept right now. So he said, "No, well, I found it in one of those sites that have spooky stories, and he thought it was a good idea. So it was there, and the teacher approved it. So Bob's my uncle. We ran with it. So we decided to record it where one of the guys lived. There was like this little park, and usually with no people around because it didn't have games or anything for kids. It was just a little park with a bunch of benches. And it worked out great because, especially with this dreary weather, we thought it'd be calm and easy to record some of the scenes, even in broad daylight. I actually asked for a hand recorder, like, I think it was a Sony one, a handheld. It wasn't mine, it was from one of my boyfriends back in the day. So we went one day to record. We started recording. After some fooling around, because we are dumb, and doing some of the scenes, it started to rain a bit more. And it was more harder for me to keep that stupid camera, like, dry. But it did kind of help the visuals. It was becoming very hard, though, for me to keep everything afloat. um, After a while, though, and we were like just finishing up, maybe the last scenes, we came across the little black corgi that started following us. We're all suckers for dogs, and we honestly thought he got like out of a house or something. He kept being in scenes. He started barking and following us around. It didn't matter if he was barking because it was going to be a silent movie. We were going to take away the sound, but it was still very, like, disturbing. He was like just annoying us most of the time. So at some point we got frustrated and just grabbed the camera and started recording him while I was trying to be friendly, and we were just bullshitting at the end of the day. But it started to get dark and everyone was getting hungry. So we decided to cut it short and grab what we had. One of the group, another girl, that I will avoid names. I do remember all the names of everyone. But she needed to run off quick. She had like to do some errands. She was gonna finish our report for the day because we needed to do some report stupid things for the teacher to read. So she said like I'll take that responsibility, but I kinda need to like go now. But by this point the dog followed us all the way till my friend's house. And he kept following her, barking, whining, everything. And I'm like, bro, we can't take you away. Um, the dog followed us, like I said. And honestly, this girl thought like, oh, he's just trying to make her take it away. But she had enough dogs, or that's what she used to say. Like, oh my god, like I have enough dogs right now to like take another one with me. Also, we didn't know if it was like one of the neighbors, so we said like we'll keep it here. It's no problem. You go and do your thing. So she got in her car and she left for the night. At the end of the day, it was just me and another friend. I was gonna wait till my parents picked me up. So I stayed for a while. We got some food. We went to a 7-Eleven for this, so you can imagine what kind of food it was. And the damn dog kept following us and barking at us. At this point, we were like kind of fed up from it because we didn't know if he was anything. Like we didn't know what was going on or whatever, and we're like, "Damn, what should we do? Should we get him into your house?" Even though he had like 20 fucking cats at that point. So, but we started feeling kind of bad for him because the weather was kind of shitty and he was just there alone. We did see him. Like when we got into the 7-Eleven, we did see him following us, and he sat waiting for us at the door. And we're like, you know what? Let's just keep him safe for the night. And tomorrow, some lady's gonna show up and ask for it. By the time we came back, he wasn't there. Like, he was gone. And as we, like, went back, we're like trying to look for him. We were kind of worried, and we're like, damn, we should have like done something before that. We should have like put him in the house. We should have locked him up at least. But we were like thinking about other things. So the good thing is that there was no major avenues. Before y'all think that we were like shitty people, no, there wasn't. Like it was like a tiny neighborhood. It's just there was a 7-Eleven right there. So as we got back to his house, we started like checking on the tape. The same night. It was already dark outside, if I recall. So he had like his TV and we just connected it. And after we started seeing the terrible, stupid video that we just recorded, we noticed something. None of the scenes where the dog was around seemed that I was focusing him. We're talking about it for sure and such, and thought, oh well, I didn't focus the camera to it. Maybe I just was being bad at taking video. But I did do it at the end when we're like all standing in a circle. But at the end, we only stood all of us in a circle, but there was no dog anywhere to be seen. Like I remember we even were like petting it, and it was like, you're petting the air, bro. We did mention this the next day to everyone, and everyone did see the video, and we're like, I don't know what happened. I mean, maybe we imagine it. Maybe, who knows? We're like, that was weird. Hell of a thing. But anyway, we just brushed it off. Nothing happened. You're fucking crazy. And by that moment, we realized that where's our friend? Like, where's the other girl? She had to have her report with her, and we needed to present it at class at that moment. So my friend called her because it was like a close friend from him, and call her, but nothing. So later that day, turns out that she had an accident right after she left us, right there in the highway, and she lost her car. It was a nice Mustang, man. He just completely got destroyed her car. And we're like, what the fuck? We're like, what the hell? Maybe that dog was trying to prevent that. But sure enough, everyone had an accident with some sort of thing. She, if I recall, she had an accident with a semi-truck. Like, it hit her right on the side. The good thing is that it didn't hurt like her. It didn't hit her. She just like had the whiplash from it, but she did get a total wrecked. We all started having accidents, like I said, with semi-trucks actually. One by one, we all had something like this happening to us in a span of a month. I had mine while heading like to school, and I wasn't on a bus, bro. Like, it just came out of nowhere. And the only thing, thank God, that happened to me was that I came in late and my legs were bruised. That was pretty much it. Nothing of major, just the shock of it, I guess. I didn't go to the rest of the recordings. I said, like, screw that. I want to kind of survive my rest of the season. They did take the tape. So one of our friends from there took it for editing. Apparently his uncle was a good film editor and made the edition for us. At the end, we did pass the class. I remember the video was really shitty, and I'm like, well, what'd you expect, right? But the original tape was long gone. We never recuperated the original cut. The uncle said that he left it somewhere and couldn't find it back. We didn't know what to believe by then. But we just moved on. We felt that we kept pursuing the tape, it would bring more weird calamities. So we just left it to die. After that, we did have some other weird experiences. finishing the semester actually. When we're like at night, like the building was honestly alone. And we got to experience a couple of weird phenomenons. One time we heard like a baby crying on a wall, and we're like, "Why the fuck is that happening?" We were all like the Scooby Doo fucking clan, like like all standing there, like you know, no, this is not right, man. I I don't know. It was just a couple of weird instances, and after that, it just stopped. I don't really talk to them all at all anymore. I don't even know what they're up to doing. But for certain, I never did forget the ghost dog that made us have a horrible season back in that year of college. I I always remember that one with a lot of like love, but more because of all the stupid things that I did with my friends. That art school wasn't bad, but it wasn't a shitty like location. It looked like a fucking crazy asylum even. So yeah, that was fun. To finish up, because I feel like I'm going through phases. Like first when I was like a little girl, then was older. So now, I know it's gonna sound very cliche, but this is when I was working. This is gonna sound bad, but we all know that one every job in any part of the world, there's always a rumor about so there's a ghost of Vex wandering on this place, or like the girl appears in this fucking building. I wasn't one of those. So on my old job, the last one that I had on while I was living in Mexico actually. I used to work for a toy developer. And they had a big old warehouse that was for all the keeping the products, to create them, to fabricate them, to pack them up and all that stuff before they got into on the sales floor, right? But that warehouse was very fucking haunted. For most of the times it was rather calm. There was always people on the area. It was very lively. There was a lot of people. I love that. My office area was rather open, and we had a big showroom downstairs with some of the products. Most of it was like party supplies and that kind of stuff, the ones from downstairs. And upstairs we had like the toy one near my desk. At some points I had like stuffed animals and strollers on my section that I would bump on a daily basis to go to the restroom actually. But on the weekend it was the whole different ball of wax. It tended to be a lot less people on the area. I used to go on Saturday mornings, just to finish up whatever I had from Fridays, and to get them set for Monday morning. So the office area had a long open hallway with different little rooms with windows. I call them like the fish tanks because it looks like little fish tanks in every spot. You can easily see every little office with no problem. It was more so the boss because his office was right at the end of it, and he could nose around from the comfort of his chair. We can also hear everything. Like he could hear everything and everywhere. If he was angry, you will know if you were at the other end of the fucking office area. So once or twice a week in the early morning, we randomly hear objects falling downstairs. But there was nothing really. The strollers suddenly actually moved by themselves, and they were found in the middle of the hallways, or even our chairs, because we had like those real roller chairs. Toys would suddenly be moved along the night while the office was empty. The showroom downstairs was even more spookier, bro, because we never turned on the lights unless we had people coming to see the store. Ooh, I went too far with my music. Let's go. Sorry. The sound went away. So anyway, the showroom downstairs was even more spookier because we never turned on the lights, like I said, unless we had people coming to see the products. We had a Halloween expo one time and had some laughing skeletons that they didn't stop making noises. We hated those skeletons. Man, did they laugh randomly, spookily. But it was all isolated little events till one night it went completely poltergeist. Like Poltergeist, the movie went short compared to what happened. So this was a big warehouse. Inside the warehouse, it was our offices, and the rest was the steel of boxes and boxes of toys. There was a little one warehouse on the back where we kept the ride-ons, and on the other side we had another little warehouse that was the printer. So this all happened in the big area. We had a workshop in the same place where they made different in-house products, and workers had to stay night shifts to finish off orders on times. Like sometimes they had to like just work. The workshop had two levels. The lower one was the usual, where they made most of the activities, like packaging and that kind of stuff. And the second floor was where they packed up, like actually shipped. But that was empty at nights. They didn't really work at that. Also, to give more explanation, it did not have walls. It was like it was a weird construction, makeshift, terrible. It was a very shabby makeshift section, definitely. The boss thought to save some bucks, they just put it like some flooring, some tables, and voila, another level. Also, if anyone walked over it, you could easily, very loudly, hear their footsteps on the top of your head. It sucked. But like I said, at night it was nice and quiet. So the night went uneventful till they started hearing steps over the shipping area over their heads. The wood floor made a loud noise when they walked over it, like if they were stomping their feet. One of the girls went to check up if there was anyone playing around there. She was like pissed. I know who she was, and yeah. But as they knew, as they checked, it was empty completely. Right after that, when they came downstairs, they said that they heard some boxes fall on one of the far corners of the warehouse, almost getting into the entrance. Like if they were throwing and pushing from the steel. Like if someone was behind the boxes and just pushing them out and pushing them out. And then it got quiet. And everyone was like rattled at that point. By this, so everyone can follow me up. This team was mostly women, but some of the guys actually stayed overnight to help them out and also giving them a bit more peace of mind so they weren't just by themselves. So those guys were like all hands on deck, like what the hell is going on? So they went to check where the boxes fell, and it was empty. There was nobody behind the steel, there was nobody around. And they saw that the entrances were closed because they had the alarm set. So nobody could really enter unless they saw them. And like I said, the warehouse was plain open, so you can honestly see anyone coming in if they even come in. Later, I think they told me it was after 10 p.m., it started to get worse. On the far end of the warehouse, the little one where I saying where all the ride-ons were. So what's a ride-on? It's like those little cars where kids go. They have like a bunch of sounds and beeps and boops. Well, they started to sound by themselves inside the boxes. And they started triggering by themselves, one after another. And that's when the girls started to get very nervous and started to pick up their things like, fuck this. And then suddenly they heard now something running, but over the top of the ceiling in the warehouse, like over the building. So this building was shabby, like I said. Everyone pay attention. It had laminated ceiling. So if anything was up there, it would make a horrible sound. Like if you ever like walk over laminated tiles, whatever, it sounds like imagine that sounding on the top of your head. Like what the hell? On the middle of there was just a loose plaque of it, and it started to rattle and make an intense sound. If you see it, it looked like somebody was like jumping over it over and over and over again, like a little trampoline thing going on there. Somebody finally called the police, and luckily, I think that's kind of why they liked it. There was a police station right across from us, so they showed up in seconds. They were there on the spot. Everyone got out of the area, and the sound kept banging and banging and banging, even when the cops got there. They they got up to the roof. There was a way to go through the roof through the other side. And because what they stated, it was impossible for a person to actually stand on the laminated ceiling because it didn't have the capacity to sustain a person's weight unless it was a kid. They actually fired a warning shot and then it suddenly stopped. But there was no one to be seen. After that, nobody stayed overnight. There was way too much things going on that and started bleeding to the days and evenings. Like, we started having so much activity, it wasn't even fucking funny. I wasn't personally there, though. But I had a very close friend that worked there. And she was in charge of that section of the workers. She was present when all of that happened. I did experience a lot of stuff that went around in the back rooms, though. I can't personally say that those fucking toys turn on by themselves at night, at day, in noon. It didn't matter. If you were there alone in the back, they would just fuck with you. I watched when strollers moved. and it wasn't nice, bro. I was like, imagine just sitting in my desk, minding my own business, and then suddenly I just saw the thing move slowly. I used to hear things on the steel also on the back because most of my responsibilities were in the printing area, so I had to go there daily. So I had to hear stuff, definitely. Another co-worker that was from my team members, he said that he saw a woman crying down the streets from us. We could see the main street from our window in the office, and when he stayed like long at night, he said that he saw her like passing by several nights in a row. And one day he decided to go ask the cops that were like just chilling out there while he was waiting on his bus, and they told him like, "Oh yeah, it's probably that woman that got assaulted a while ago." And they didn't even think about it. It was like so normal. There was indeed a rumor though that the entire area of that place, I'm talking about even where my office was, uh, it used to be part of the municipal cemetery. One of the biggest ones in the States, actually. And they said, much like Poltergeist, that they moved part of the said cemetery closer to the tombs so they would be together and they were not scattered all over about the place. They may have moved the bodies, they may have moved the stones, but it is known that not everything is moved. Like, they say that the energies just stay there around and just roam in the same fucking area till eternity. I left that place a while ago, but my friends that work there still complain about the random sounds at night. So yeah, man, those were quick 9 pages. I have a lot of experience, and I love talking about ghost stories and such. Many of my friends told me a lot of them, but I don't have enough information, so I just thought that it'd be a good idea to like start with me. Throw me under the bus. Be happy that people know that I saw things. But yeah, um, well, I think I am gonna call it off right now. It was nice and such. I'm probably gonna upload this on YouTube because it's a nice way to have some info. I had fun this Halloween season, even though that I didn't play a lot with video games and such. But I kind of dig that I was doing some arts and such. So I want to say thank you to all guys that have supported us for this long. It's it's been a while, and I'm kind of happy to keep on doing the thing that I love, even if it's like on the side. I wish I could do it more, but the time that I have you guys, it's just awesome. Uh, remember this weekend we're not having the podcast, or that's what we're saying for the moment, just to keep it safe. But we're probably gonna be doing some things. I don't know about tomorrow, but Thursday morning I'm probably gonna do an art stream. Go back to the normal, turn back from my regular self, not a vampire girl. Although, if it sticks, why not? But I think I'm gonna go back to my little magical girl because I miss my little colorful hair. Thanks again for watching. If you like what you see, give us a follow, it's free. If you want to help us out more, you can always subscribe. If you have Prime, you can always do it for free and let Bezos pay for your entertainment so you don't have to see all those ads while I'm talking bullshit. But thank you again from the bottom of my heart for the people that stuck with us and making us grow. We're already at 192 followers, and that makes me really happy. So y'all have a very happy rest of the Halloween. It's still Halloween somewhere. It's still Halloween here. Y'all take care, and let's see what Krampus leaves us next month. Y'all take care. Have a happy Halloween from yours truly, Ellie Screams. Good night, everybody.